maybe evening. I don't know when you're watching this, but I'm glad you came. I'm glad you're watching. I love to teach you guys because the same time I'm teaching you, God is teaching me. There's always so much to learn, whether you're little or whether you're old, like I am. Today we're going to talk about compassion and empathy. Do you know that word, empathy? It means the same as compassion. Empathy or compassion means to think and care about how the other person feels and treating them how you want to be treated. So it kind of goes with generosity because it usually goes with giving them something that they need, even if it's just kind words or a smile. Maybe somebody's having a bad day and they just need you to say, you know what, I'm so glad you're my friend, because that would just do wonders for them. It doesn't cost you anything. It just makes them happy. And because you understood that they're having a bad day. If you are kind of a little bit of a bully, maybe you can think about how somebody else feels. What does it feel like to be made fun of all the time? Would you like it? I don't think so. Compassion or empathy means that you think about how they would feel. It would make them so sad. And so we don't want to do that. If we wouldn't want somebody else to do it to us, if we wouldn't want to feel that way, then we don't want others to feel that way. And that also goes with the rule that we talked about before. One of the greatest commandments is love your neighbor as yourself. And that means exactly this. Don't do to them what you don't want done to you. There are so many places in the Bible that God tells us to have compassion, to think about people who are sick or hurting, or maybe their pet died and you just feel bad for them, to understand how they're feeling. And maybe if somebody is having a real hard time, don't pester them about something right now. Has your mom or dad ever had a really bad day? That is probably not a good time to ask them for a whole bunch of stuff, right? Because they're already dealing with too much stuff in their head. So we have compassion and also wisdom, and we save our conversation for another time, right? And instead we just go and give them a hug and say, I love you, Mommy. I love you, Daddy. Okay? So that's what compassion is. I'm going to read to you 2 Corinthians 1, 3-4. So this is near the back of our book. 2 Corinthians 1, 3-4. It says, praise to God and the Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. That's a lot of words. Did you catch all that? It says God gives comfort and compassion to us, and in turn we get to give comfort and compassion to others. Do you remember last week when I was pouring into myself and God was pouring into me? And I never ran out because God was always pouring into me. So that goes again this week. Don't you love it how all of God's stuff is all tied together? I love that. So as God pours love and compassion and into us, comfort and all that, He pours it into us. We can pour it into others. And we never run out because He's always pouring in, just like we saw last week. And I made a big mess all over my table. If you missed it, you might want to go back and see that. So that's what this verse says. Don't be afraid to give comfort and compassion, because that's exactly what God is already doing to you. I love that picture of Him pouring and pouring. Now I'm going to read you a story, and that comes from Matthew 18. And 23-30. I gotta find my Matthew. Let me see. Oh, I even had it marked. Now this is about a king a long time ago. And the king would lend people money, kind of like you can give a government loan right now. So they used to lend people money, and um, that's what this king had done. And so it came to a time where he was looking over all the people he had lent money to see who had paid him back and who didn't and who needs to. And so that's what was going on. The king began the settlement, and a man who owed him 10,000 talents. Let's just say dollars because we understand that. He owed him a lot of money and was brought to him. Now I'm going to show you this. Do you think the king was happy? This has all different faces. These are empathy. So there's all different faces. Do you think the king was happy that people owed him so much money? I don't think so. I think he was just listening right now. But he was not able to pay it. And so the king ordered that the man and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to pay the debt. So that tells me the king was mad. This guy owed him lots of money, and he hadn't paid him back at all, and so he was mad. So in those days, you could order them to all go to jail. You could sell his wife and his kids. Would you like to be sold? I would not. And they could be sold off until he had enough money to pay it back. Now, how do you think the man felt? Scared? I would think so. And maybe sad. Probably very sad. Right? Scared and sad. That's how I would feel. The servant fell on his knees in front of the king and said, "Be patient with me," he begged, "and I will pay back everything." And the king took pity on him. He had compassion and empathy. And he canceled the debt and let him go. Now, by canceling the debt, that doesn't mean he's just going to give him more time to pay it. Canceling the debt meant, you know what? I understand that you have not very much money and having a hard time. And so how about if I just say, you know what? You don't have to pay me back. It's all right. We'll just say it was a present and you never have to pay me back. Now, how do you think the man felt? How about that happy face? The man was happy. And I would be happy. My kids aren't going to be sold. And I don't have to pay back all this money. All my worries are done. How awesome is that? I just think that was amazing. That was so generous of the king. And that was last week's lesson. He didn't have to do that, but he was generous. So with that, the guy went home, but on his way out, he found one of his friends who owed him just a little bit of money. So he had lent his friend just a little bit of money, not a lot like the king had lent him. And do you think he was generous? Do you think he was happy and said, you know what, the king just gave me the most awesome gift and said I didn't have to pay him back? No, that's not what this guy said. He got very, mad and said, you need to pay me back right now. You need to give me what you owe me. And the fellow servant was scared and sad, just like that other guy had been. And he said, be patient with me and I will pay you back. But the guy said, no way. And he made the man be thrown in jail. Oh my goodness. So did he have empathy and compassion? He did not. The king showed him empathy and compassion. But this guy didn't show it to anybody else. Somebody had poured it into him, but he didn't pour it back out. How sad is that? We don't want to be like that guy who has no compassion and empathy. He was a jerk. We want to be like the king who was like God, because God gives us compassion all the time. So many times in the Bible, it tells us to have compassion. God says, be compassionate, love each other, be generous, have compassion. But not everybody does. I think kids maybe have more compassion sometimes than adults do. I know when my kids were small, one of them would do something wrong, and the other one would go and tell on him. And then, when the one who did wrong got punished, the one who told would go and put their arm around him and say, "That's okay, that's all right." So they had compassion. Where adults, if they see somebody getting what they deserve, they just think, yeah, you know what? They deserve it. And there's not a whole lot of compassion. So, we need to have compassion. God says we need to have compassion. And we do that by thinking how they feel. And is that how I would want somebody to do it to me? So I want you to remember that. That's an awesome story. And next week, we are going to talk more about compassion and God's compassion. So I'm excited about that because that is a ginormous topic. Okay, so you saw this thing that I was turning around. I hope from there you can see these faces. The scared face, the happy face, the sad face, and the mad face. Those are emotions. Those are what we feel. And so when I was telling the story, I was thinking about how they feel. And that's good practice for us to think about how somebody else can feel. So I want to make one with you. This one I made big just so that you could see it easier. But we're going to make ours out of a toilet paper roll. And I bet you have one of these. And if not, I bet you have one in the next couple days. So we're going to make one like this. And when somebody's telling you a story or you're watching a TV show, you can use it and turn these around and think about how somebody was feeling. Maybe how both people were feeling. Maybe one was happy that they did something mean and one was sad. So I want you to start thinking about that. But for now, we're just going to make one of these. And hopefully that doesn't roll away. So we start with a toilet paper roll, like I said. Here's all my stuff. And we're going to get something like a toonie, because that's easy to trace. And we're going to put it where the face would be. If this was a body, that's about where the face would be. And we are going to trace it with a pencil. And then we're going to take scissors, and I'm going to poke a hole. Careful not to cut your fingers. And I'm going to cut that circle out, okay? Because that's where the face is going to show through. It doesn't matter if your circle is perfect. That's all right. It's only just for your face to shine through, okay? So there is my hole. If you're having too much trouble, get somebody bigger than you to do that. Okay, next thing you're going to do is do the faces. So I want you to take a sheet of paper and I want you to roll it up. And then I want you to stick it inside your toilet paper roll. And then when you let it go, it will be as big as your toilet paper roll. And then kind of pat the ends so that it all matches and it's all flat. Okay? You got that? Good. Now, so it doesn't move, I don't have any other kind of tape, so I'm using masking tape. That's what I like about crafts, is if you don't have something, you can usually use something else. So I'm going to poke this up a little bit, and I'm going to tape it right over my fold so it doesn't come undone. And I'm going to do that at the bottom too, because I don't want it to come undone. Okay. Now, do you see where that crack is? I don't want that crack to show, so I'm just going to turn it a little bit until the crack doesn't show, and then I'm going to put this back up to the top so it's even with the top, And with my pencil, I'm going to draw my happy face. There's my happy face. You can hardly see it, but that's okay, because after I take this out, or even if you want to do it now, you can do it in a felt pen. Whoops. And it'll be easier to see. But it's good to do it with pencil first so that you get it exactly how you want. I'm going to make the smile very dark. Now I bet you can see it better. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to turn it until you can't see any of that face anymore. And you're going to do a different face. You're going to do the sad face. Oh, I did it in my felt pen, so I better not make a mistake. There's my sad face, and there's my tear coming down. Okay? Then you're going to do the mad face. Whoops, I'm going to do this one in pencil because don't always do very good with a mad face. Mad face has beady little eyes and angry eyebrows that point. We'll color in the mouth. There's his angry eyebrows and his beady little eyes and a nose and a mouth. Okay? And then we'll do a surprise face. So surprise face has big round eyes and eyebrows that go, oh! And the nose and a big round mouth. That can be surprised, maybe scared. So that's how we do it. And then you can just turn them around and get your different faces. Now I'm leaving this long because there are more than just 4 ways that you feel. Maybe you're scared. Maybe you just tasted something horrible. You can have that face. So we can take it and we can put it in the bottom, use the other end, and we can make more faces on this side and turn those around. So that's how we're going to pay attention to how other people feel. Okay? So this is what we're going to do, and that's our craft. Now I want to put it back to my happy face and do one more thing, because this is just a toilet paper roll and I want it to be me. So I'm going to take a piece of paper and I am going to make a shirt. Oh, my arms aren't even. That's okay. So I cut out a shirt and I'm going to glue on the back of it and put it underneath of my body. And hey, you shirt, you better stick on there. It doesn't want to. My glue must not be very good. There's my shirt. And now I'll do a skirt. Maybe I'll put more glue on my skirt. I don't want my skirt falling off. There's my skirt. So if you want to, you can put clothes on yours as well. And then we can draw on hands, feet. You could even just draw on the body if you want to. So I hope that's a fun craft for you. So I want you to remember who you are and whose you are, and try to do the right thing as best as you can. And now we're going to start to remember who other people are as well, because they are also a child of God. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next time.
In every situation, your feelings mean so much to you, but you know that you're not alone. There's other folks understand.